So we went before and talked a little bit about Blitz and his experience, but I think that we also should do it on Stolas and what he's going through right now in this relationship, and can it be repaired, and if so, how? So let's deal with a little bit of the psychology of Stolas and the apology tour.
I don't think I'm even in the mood to do words with you. So how about you respect that?
Oh, come on, Stolas. You can't mean that. You always love seeing this.
Seeing you right now is hard. I don't want to feel worse than I already do.
Good on Stolas for being able to share deeply how he feels in a really plain, direct way. When we get reminded of someone that we care about that's hurt us, it often causes more pain. And so often we end up doing one of two things. We either want to look up, find out what they're doing, or we can do the exact opposite, want to avoid anything that has to do with them, because that brings up all of those old pains. And we're naturally made to want to avoid things that make us feel bad and go towards things that make us feel good. And I think that it's really important when we're hurting to be able to share that and speak that in very plain terms. Often we mask it in other words because we might be too ashamed or think that having these feelings, especially if they're negative, they're weakness. I think that Stolas is hoping that Blitz will kind of get it, that he's hurt, and he should handle him differently.
I got an invite to this anti-Blitzo party.
Anti-Blitzo party? Who the f***'s behind this?
Oh, it's entirely immature. I'd never indulge this nonsense. It's silly.
Real silly, real classy.
Kind of them to invite me, though.
But sometimes misery does like company, and so to have other people that can really get how you feel could also be soothing to certain people. It's probably not the best way to handle your pain, to have a party that is all surrounded around hating on one person, but often we find maladaptive ways to be able to deal with our pain, especially if we haven't been taught better ways.
It's rather concerning you have an entire party devoted to hating you, though, Blitz.
In the end, everyone's just bitter they couldn't tie this down.
So you're used to being the one who crushes others' feelings, hmm?
If by crushes others' feelings you mean before it gets serious, then bingo, I'm doing everyone a favor because relationships are boring.
The truth is that Blitz is afraid of intimacy and commitment. But for Stolas, all that he interprets this as, this is how you feel about me. Blitz is talking about it in a generic sense about everyone else, because for Blitz, it's hard for him to get in touch with all of those deep feelings. But when you're the one that's hurt, you interpret that just through your own pain. So Blitz saying this just hurts Stolas even more. It makes him feel angry, because how could you do this to me? Don't you see that you also crushed me? So what Stolas is hoping to do is to hurt Blitz in hopes that he will hurt as well, because in a way that would show that he cared. And we often do that because the worst kind of pain is nothing, no emotional reaction from the other person. So often people, when they see someone kind of shut down, which is what Blitz does, we often then try to incite a reaction, any feeling at all, because any feeling is better than none.
You want me to show your rich, princey ass what a real is?
Stop it!
Ha! I'm right, aren't I? You get off to getting by people you look down on.
I don't look down on you. How many times do I... When have I ever...
There's been a lot of controversy on does Stolas actually look down on Blitz or not. I actually don't think so. I think that he actually puts Blitz on a pedestal. Everything that Blitz does, he sees with those starstruck, love-struck eyes. And only now, when he's realizing the gravity of Blitz's reaction, does Stolas see him more honestly with his flaws. I think that for that, everyone's going to give me some pushback, because yes, there are times where Stolas has treated imps like less than. Stolas, being Goetia royalty, is also used to having servants and not treating the same way that he would treat everyone else. So there have been some times that Stolas has treated imps in less than the most respectful of manners also. But I don't believe that that's the way that he looks at Blitz.
You speak just like that vile striker friend of yours, the one who tried to kill me and you couldn't be bothered to come help me.
I stopped him the first time, didn't I?
The first time?
No, who said that?
You knew someone was trying to assassinate me?
And that's heartbreaking for Stolas to recognize that Blitz cared so little, even though Blitz protected him, he didn't let Stolas know that there was a danger to him. And for Stolas, I think that that felt like he didn't really care. That changes the way he looks at the nature of the relationship, how little Blitz must care for him, even if that's inaccurate.
I stopped him, and I really didn't think you could actually get hurt. You're immortal, and you're a prince. If me and my team could kick that guy's that easily, then I'm sure you'd have no problem.
I suppose you are right. Silly me. It's not an imp's place to protect a Goetia, is it?
For Stolas, protection means care and love. And so with Blitz, even though he did protect him, not letting him know, not making sure that he's safe and taking those precautions, in Stolas's eyes, that means that Blitz cares that little for him. Because Stolas is really protective of the people that he cares about. That's the way that he shows affection. And we often interpret the way that we care, meaning that that's what we want to receive back. If you ever want to know how to care about someone, do what they do, because that's how they show love, and that means that that's their love language.
There it is. Took you long enough.
That's all you were waiting for, wasn't it? For me to play into this idea you have of me, that I'm this prince who thinks he's so much better than you. Well, I don't. Why would I allow everyone to see how much I like you, how I've tried so hard to spend time with you, to support you? You don't owe me those things, but you can't just ignore all that.
And that's the problem. Stolas did all of these different situations to try to show Blitz that he genuinely cares about him. But because they had this agreement about this book, for Blitz, because of his attachment type, it was so easy for him to just dismiss them. And so sometimes, even though you're trying to show someone with every single way that you can how much they mean to you, sometimes it just can't sink in because it's so difficult to be able to recognize, especially when you have an attachment issue, that someone genuinely cares about you. And so for Blitz, he's going to sabotage it every way. And for Stolas, that's just going to hurt.
Do you feel any kind of remorse for what you do? Have you ever even apologized once in your life?
Oh, you think I can't apologize?
And that's a really difficult thing. What Stolas wants for Blitz is genuine feeling, genuine truth. For Stolas, that would mean that this was real, that he wasn't just a fool to care about Blitz. I think that it's also not fair. Stolas has dropped all of this on Blitz in a moment. And people, especially when they're dealing with so much, can't process it that quickly. So Stolas is expecting a lot from Blitz in a really short time, but because of his pain, he can't see what's right in front of him, which is Blitz trying to fight for the relationship, even though all of these things have happened.
Because I was convinced a prince could never love someone like me, and I've let my self-hatred stop me from apologizing to anyone I could never care about.
Well, yes, that.
And I think that for Stolas, he wants to be the one that's different, that Blitz is horrible and heartless to everyone else. But to him, he's gonna be different. I can change him. He will love me so much that it will be different for me. And I think that for a lot of people that haven't been shown a lot of love and affection in their life, that this is one of those pieces, that people get attracted to someone that's more of the bad boy or the one that hurts everyone. And they hope that they'll be different for them. But the part that Stolas is missing is that Blitz is acting this way because of his own hurts and wounds and because of the way that he was raised. And so this is who he is, and changing that is really, really hard. So often we are trying to find the person similar to a situation that we've had, a wound that we've had in our past, such for Stolas as a neglectful parent, and hoping that the person is neglectful enough but will be different for me, because that would mean to Stolas that he's good enough, that he's worthy. And that's why he hopes that even though he sees that Blitz has done this to everyone, that for him, this would be a different situation. Because for Stolas, he believes that that would heal some of that wound that he has inside of himself of believing that everyone will leave, that he's not good enough to love. Problem is that you can't find that outside of yourself or in a relationship. You have to find that within you.
The one day a year the spirits can rise amongst the living, and it's spent celebrating mutual pettiness.
Oh, what?
Oh, nothing. I was talking to myself.
And that's that's the thing, is often we find different ways in hopes that they're gonna make us feel better. I do like how much emotional intelligence Stolas really has. He recognizes the entire ruse of this party and that it's really not gonna heal the wounds that he has. But in this case, I think that Stolas went, even though he said that this was a horrible party and he would never go. I think that the reason that he went is because being alone for him was even worse. And I think that for Stolas, he's not invited to a lot of different things. And so it feels just really nice to be wanted, even if it is by a party of people that only want you because of the person that you used to date.
Cake, you wanna slice it?
Oh!
I like to start at the neck. Or the... You're right. Nobody wants his anyway.
I think I'm content without slicing any of it.
I think that Verosika definitely deserves her own video of all of the things that she's going through and how she has to handle it. But you can see Stolas' reaction. This is not the way that he expresses his pain. And everyone deals with pain in a completely different way. And so as long as it's adaptive and doesn't hurt anyone, then you want to be able to allow people to express their way. Your way of expressing pain may not be someone else's, though there are a whole bunch of maladaptive ways that in the end cause more harm than gain. So you want to take a look at the way that you express pain, how you deal with it, and then kind of go through better, healthier ways. It's a really catchy song. And there are some really adaptive ways. Singing, expressing yourself, journaling, writing things, poetry, creating things, talking to people, expressing how you feel, exercise. These are some really adaptive ways. So Stolas singing out his pain, being able to get it out through music is really, really healthy. And for a lot of people, that feels like that cathartic feeling of getting it out with singing. Just like with exercise, you have all of those repressed emotions that are coming out of you, and you can show them and share them and put all of that energy into another place. And eating your emotions, kind of keeping them in, bottling them up, is really unhealthy for you. It can actually make you sick or lead to other maladaptive ways because you become this pressure cooker of not having any way to have that release.
Hey!
Blitz, what are you doing here?
Wow. I've never seen you throw him back like this.
Came just to judge me, is that it?
And that's one of those maladaptive ways. Often people turn to drugs or drinking or other things because that shuts down the part of your mind. It stops you from thinking so much so you don't feel so much pain. And when you're in immense emotional distress, it just hurts so much that you want it to stop. And it often doesn't matter how it stops. You just want to find a certain way. But with drugs and alcohol, it can be so addictive and you're not actually processing it when you're drunk. So you're not healing. And then when you become sober, you feel worse and you still have all of these issues that you just kind of delayed for a later period of time. You need to process through your pain in order to heal and feel better. Sometimes that is through the other techniques that I talked about before, or talking to someone professionally, and also time. So your brain can kind of go through everything and put things into the proper bins. I would say though, journaling, even if you hate journaling through your pain, even if it's just repeating one word or drawing, is also really good because that allows something that's inside to be outside and you can reflect on it. So you end up with that cognitive part of your brain being able to look at this writing, being able to process it again, but from a different place. And you can look back on the past and see your change and how you're feeling and compared to how you felt at the beginning, which often, hopefully, you feel better. But do you see how Stolas, even in this anger, he's protective of Blitz. He's turning everyone away, making sure that no one can see him to keep him safe. Stolas still cares.
This morning? Oh, why did you show up there? Why did you show up here?
You already asked that.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that Stolas fell into Blitz's arms. I think that even though he's in pain, he wants to be comforted, and he wants to be comforted because his person is Blitz. And so for Stolas, it becomes this really difficult situation where the person that hurt him is also the person that he wants the most to be comforted from. So I think that this situation of him falling into Blitz's arms, just like the way that he cradles Octavia when she was upset with him, is the way that he ends up. I think that unconsciously he still hoping that Blitz will say the right things to soothe him.
I've always been real at sorries, okay? I said sorry a lot today, and honestly, didn't really mean any of it, because the only one I wanted to say it to was you, Stolas.
And that's that moment that if Stolas was not so inebriated, if he could really process it, especially since Stolas has such good emotional intelligence, but I think that he's at that level of just so hurt that he isn't hearing. That Blitz is saying, I care about you, and you're the one that I care so much about that I would apologize even though I can't apologize to anyone else. And for Stolas, those are words that I think that if he was sober, it would have been much easier for him to grasp. But when we're hurt, what happens is that our brain shuts down. When we're really, really hurt, we're often running through a story inside of our head. And because of that, we're not processing what the other person says to us. And in therapy, I'm often there as that middle person to be able to stop people and say, did you hear what they say? Because I'm the person that isn't injured in this party, so it's much easier for me to be able to really get what someone is saying, even if they say it sometimes in not the most eloquent or clear manner. And so I'm kind of the middle person to be able to interpret so that other people can hear what someone else is bringing to the table. So Stolas is not able to really accept or hear this huge offering that Blitz has said right now.
How could anybody?
Blitz, there is a crowd full of people here who cared so much they throw an entire party about hating you every year. Do you know how much you have to care to do something as stupid as that?
And I love that emotional intelligence. Stolas was able to pick up that Blitz is hurt and be able to soothe him. And he's absolutely right. How much do you have to care about someone to do this? A lot. That's a lot of pain. That's a lot of care. Because of Stolas' own wound, he didn't catch the part that Blitz said before.
Because the only one I wanted to say it to was you, Stolas. This whole thing we had going, I mean, you're a prince. How could you ever actually care for an imp?
That I never thought you could like me, love me, because of who you are. And so he caught on the part that he could register because that's not the part that's closer to his wound. And we often do that. We miss sometimes all of the gems that someone offers us through all of the other stuff that's covered it up. Because I think that for Stolas to admit that after he's been hurt so badly, it's just easier to believe that he didn't really mean what he said. Because he's been hurt so deeply by Blitz.
I don't even know why you would want to be with me.
You want to know what I want? I want to know what it's like to not be alone. I want to be someone's someone. I want to feel wanted.
I think that's the other striking part, is that Stolas says someone. Now, it could be that Stolas is saying someone because it's too painful for him to say Blitz, but it definitely gives me that moment of, do you want just anyone? Are you just so worried about being alone that you don't care who it is? That Blitz is just this placeholder for the best person that you have at the moment, but it isn't Blitz that you actually want. And that would be the first thing that I would stop him and ask him is, but is it Blitz that you want, or do you want just someone? Is it anyone? And if so, then there's a different issue, that it could be any placeholder. This might not be Blitz that you actually want. Do you actually want his personality traits, the things that he brings to the table? Or is it just you want any warm body to be able to care about you because you're so sad about being alone all of the time? And how do you deal with that kind of attachment issue? This one's really painful and everyone hates it, but you actually have to spend time alone without anyone and be comfortable with who you are alone. You cannot fill enough people, emotions, thoughts into this rift to be able to cover the gap. It will always be there whenever you're alone. You're actually just avoiding it. So what homework I give is working on being alone and knowing that, I know it's therapy, but you're not alone because you're with you. You're good enough for you, and not to abandon yourself. So really painful homework, but it is truly one of the most effective ways to actually heal this kind of attachment injury.
You! Why are you here? I don't want you here. Go home, please. Let me not feel so sad.
And that's the part, is that For Stolas, Blitz is just a reminder of being rejected. He's not aware that Blitz is there and spending time with him right now in hopes to be able to repair it. I also love that way that Stolas kind of gathered himself back together and had that kind of really stoic moment of being able to just take that deep breath and release all of that pain that he had. It's actually a really good technique, not just for sadness, but also for anxiety. To be able to deep breathe and be able to calm down your limbic system so that you're not having this parasympathetic response, and to be able to gather yourself a little bit more. When we're processing a lot of emotions, when we're very emotionally heavy, it shuts down our cognitive system, and so because of that, we can't process or figure out the things that are around you. So the worst part is that right now, where I think Stolas would be ready to hear Blitz, and it seems like Blitz is ready to say something, it gets, of course, interrupted.
Hey.
Oh, hello.
Well, I just wanted to see if maybe you'd want to dance.
You want to dance? With me?
Yeah.
Okay.
And did you see that? Did you see that kind of look that Stolas gave to Blitz, asking if he has permission to go? One, because I think that Stolas has really good manners and it's impolite to leave a conversation midway without letting the other person know. It's also because they were in this pseudo relationship and he wants to know if it's okay for him to do this. And they were in this very emotional talk. I think that for Blitz, because of his own attachment issue, this was an error on his part. He should have asked to stay, but I also think that he was giving him permission because he knows that this is what Stolas needs. And for Stolas, he went because it just felt so good to have someone else want him, because he's been so sheltered. And so that affirmation feels so good. And because of that, people sometimes can get lost in it. There's no greater game than the game we are playing right now. So don't get voted off with today's sponsor, Brilliant.org. And you can get away with the knowledge you need. Learn, enjoy, enhance with Brilliant's ever-growing set of new courses. Brilliant makes college-level courses available to help you be as smart as you can. Each course is designed for high-velocity learning, so it helps you stay focused and reach your goals to become the last snitch standing. And Brilliant makes learning like a game, with fun features that let you challenge yourself, compete with others, so you never get bored. Because when learning is fun and engaging, it makes it easier and it actually sticks better. So you will remember more easily and for a longer period of time. And Brilliant has thousands of lessons: math, chemistry, physics, engineering, computer science, and so many more. And you don't really have to worry because Brilliant constantly has more lessons being added monthly. I've done their courses on algebra, logic, geometry, and I found all of them, even though these were some courses that I found stressful, they were engaging. And because I could learn in the chunks at the speed that I wanted to, I never felt stressed out. And when I practice a skill, I just do it for 15 minutes a day. That's really all you need. And no one can tell me they don't have 15 minutes a day to be smarter, to learn something to make their life better. And for me, I find the way that Brilliant designs their courses much easier because I'm a visual learner. I like to see how things work together. And Brilliant has all of these wonderful animations so you can look at it, not just read. And that, for me, really helps those concepts stick. And they also have new courses on how large language models work and intro to probability. There might be a question in there that Stephen would have liked. Yes. And if you're still not sure, just try everything. Yeah. Everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days. Yes, that still helps me. So head on over to brilliant.org/Georgia Dow or click on the link on the description. And if you really like Brilliant, you will get 20% off of an annual premium subscription. So just click on that link on the screen or head on over to brilliant.org/Georgia Dow. Clicking on that button really does help out my channel. So thank you so much to Brilliant for sponsoring this video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. So can this relationship be repaired? If people really care and want to fix it, you can fix almost anything with time, effort, and change. But change is hard, especially when all of our wounds from our past are coming up to kind of muddy all of the waters. I think that if Stolas looks at his own abandonment feelings and issues and his overly romanticized feelings of what is love and what is being cared about, and goes into the relationship with Blitz as equals. And if Blitz goes into looking at why he's so scared at being intimate and having deep relationships, why he has this commitment fear, which is really common, and allows himself to be vulnerable, to be intimate, even though it's scary, and of course they communicate these things with each other, they still have a chance in hell to fix this relationship. So you can let me know your thoughts on Stolas and the apology tour in the comments below, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.